Have you ever made a decision in your garden that it didn't take you very long before you regretted it? Well, that is kind of what happened to me with my blackberry bushes. When I first got them, I planted them in a spot that made sense at the time, but since then they've grown bigger and we've also kind of changed the way that we access our garden, and so now they're in the way and I really want to move them. So that's what I'm going to do in this video. I'm going to show you how I'm moving my very mature big blackberry bushes to a slightly different spot. About 3 years ago, I bought these two blackberry bushes, Navajo and Apache, and I decided to plant them in this area on the side of my house that's right outside the garage and driveway and next to the fence that leads to our backyard. And I thought this would be great. It's going to cover up the fence. I'm going to love it. Well, now the bushes have not only grown bigger, but we've also built this little patio area for our trash cans. So this area is getting crowded. And to top that off, I have propagated the bushes and I planted the new plants closer to the fence, a little bit further down the driveway area, and now they're too close to the fence. So I made some missteps. So my goal is to kind of move everything to a better logical place. I think I want to reduce the number of plants by 1 or 2 so it's not so crowded. And I just want to beautify this area of my garden because it is close to the street. There are a couple of other reasons why you might want to move your blackberry bushes. My area gets some really nice sun exposure and I'm not moving them very far because I've been really happy with that. But if you put your blackberry bushes in an area where they don't get enough sun, they're not going to be very happy. They're not going to grow much fruit, and what fruit there is probably won't be very sweet. So you want to make sure you get that full 6 to 8 hours of sun every day. You also might want to expand your patch, or maybe you're not happy with how the soil is draining. Maybe the soil is a little bit soggy, which blackberry plants don't like. So there are a lot of possible reasons for why you might want to move a mature blackberry bush, but luckily it's really easy to do. The best time to transplant blackberry bushes, whether they're young or mature and big like mine, is when the plant goes dormant. So over the winter, it loses all of its leaves and it conserves its energy to protect itself from the cold. Now you might notice that my blackberry bushes still have plenty of leaves on them, and that's because mine never actually go dormant. Our winters here are short, and what cold weather we get is in short spurts. It's kind of mild overall, so mine always hold on to some of their leaves. So if you live in a warm climate like mine, your best time to transplant might actually be fall. So after the plant has done its fruiting for the year and you cut it back a bit and the weather gets milder, that's a great time to make this move because it gives them a chance to establish in the new spot before winter comes and they slow down growing for the season, and then they're ready to go come spring like nothing ever happened. I did not do that because it is not fall, it is February right now. I sort of missed my window, and I did that because we had a really warm fall and they were just growing really vigorously and fast, and I didn't want to stress out the plant. So I'm going to do this now because even though they're not fully dormant, the blackberry bushes have slowed down for the season. It is the end of winter, the very beginning of spring. I'm just starting to see hints of those buds coming out. So now is a great time to do that. So that way when the plant wakes up, it's going to be in its new home already. And if you live somewhere with a colder winter, this is the time you want to do it. As soon as the ground has thawed enough that you can dig, but before the plant really starts growing, that's your best window of time to transplant without stressing out the plant very much. Before you grab a shovel and start digging, it's a good idea to prune the blackberry bushes first. You don't absolutely have to do this, but there are a couple good reasons why you might want to and why I'm going to. For more details on pruning blackberry bushes in the spring, I do have another video on that, which I will link to. But for now, let me give you the basics. So the first thing I'm going to do is clean up the fall growth. So what that means is shorten any canes that have grown too tall to about 3 or 4 feet. And then those lateral branches that are growing off the canes, shorten those to about 12 inches or maybe even a little bit less. And other than that, you just want to choose the strongest looking canes and trim away any old dead ones all the way back down to the ground. So those are the steps that I'm going to take right now to do my spring pruning. And this is also going to help the plant just conserve its energy and have less growth to support once it's transplanted. So that way it has some energy to put toward establishing the root system in the new spot. I just quickly marked out with some spray paint the exact spot I want the new bushes to go because I want to make sure I'm digging the holes in the right place. I place these about 4 to 5 feet apart. I want to make sure they have plenty of room. Okay, I'm pruned and I'm going to prep the new planting site. All I need to do is dig a hole probably 2 to 3 feet wide. I'm aiming for about twice as wide as what I think the root ball is going to be. And then about a foot deep, because blackberry roots don't actually go very deep. Since I'm making such a small move, it's really only a few feet in my case, I don't need to really check the soil again or test the drainage. But if you're moving to an entirely new location, if you haven't already, double check that your soil drains really, really well. I don't need to do that, so all I need to do is dig the hole, and then I am going to amend my planting hole with a little bit of compost because my soil is really, really sandy, so it needs organic material. So I'm going to get the holes prepped and ready to go so that all I have to do is dig up the old bushes and put them in place. All right, I've got the first one in the ground. So a couple things when you dig out the plant. I dug out about a foot around the base of the plant because the root ball stays relatively contained. I did have some longer roots, and it's okay to trim the longer roots to make sure that they fit in the hole. They'll bounce back no problem. That really won't affect the plants. And then you only need to dig about a foot deep because blackberry roots don't go very deep. And then when I placed it in the new hole, be careful to plant it at the same depth that it was planted before. You don't want to bury the crown too deep because that's where the new canes come from. So we don't want to suffocate it too deep in the soil. So plant it at the exact same depth as you had it before. And I've just backfilled and tamped really well. And then when I'm all done, I'll give it a really good watering. I finished putting in the blackberry bushes in their new spot, and I'm really happy with how it looks. At this point, once you've replanted the bushes, hold off on fertilizing because newly transplanted roots are a little bit more sensitive, especially as they're getting adjusted to their new spot. So I wouldn't fertilize, if possible, at all this season, or at least wait a few months so that they have a chance to get established. But that's really it. It's a pretty simple job. Some labor, some digging, but not very difficult. And really it's often the simple tasks that end up making a really big difference in our garden. And that is the case with me because now I can access all of my blackberry bushes from all sides. They all have room to spread out and grow. I'm no longer blocking the entrance to my backyard, and the whole thing just looks better from the street since it's visible from the outside of the house. So I'm really, really happy with this job and how it turned out. So let me know if you've ever tried to move your blackberry bushes. Let me know, as usual, in the comments if you have any questions. And thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.